Hello! First up, I want to say a massive thank you to the love and the support shown on the last video. It was just mind-blowing. I have literally been refreshing my homepage every 5-10 minutes, just replying to comments. Thank you so much. Over 100 comments on the last video. Some of the comments suggested that I switch to these. Some fancy new sandpapers, and they're not even that expensive. However, they're expensive enough that I don't want to lose them like I lose all my other sanding papers. I've got some on the floor over there, some in the drawers here, some up on the shelf over there, but I leave them everywhere. I've got a place for my sander, which is a bad place. I always knock it with my knees, I always knock it off the actual hook thing that it's on. Today's about organising, which is actually what you guys said you wanted to see next. Let's get to it.
As with most projects, it starts with getting some wood ready. In fact, that's every project. Anyway, most of the boards that I've used in my French cleat wall so far I've left fairly rough. I've not bothered planing most of them. However, I'm going to try and make a cabinet this time, rather than just hanging things. The reason for this is I have got no dust extraction and dust gets everywhere, and I don't really want to be wiping dust off the sandpapers before I've even used them to make more dust, so I'm going to have them locked away. I'm going to make this little storage cabinet the same way that you'd make drawers, he says, as if he's ever made a drawer successfully that the bottom hasn't fallen out of. Anyway, the cabinet itself is going to be square, but I'm going to leave some of the boards a bit longer underneath because I've got some random clamps that I just need a hook to go on. They're not really to do with sanding, but I'm fed up of moving them off the shelf just to find something. With the boards cut, it's over to the router table. I'm routing a small groove into each board, and that's going to hold the sheet of plywood in place and give the cabinet itself a bit more structure. Really enjoying having the router table. I was never sure how much I'd use it, but I'm finding reasons to use it, and to be honest, it makes things a lot quicker. And here's that 3mm ply that I mentioned earlier. It's only thin, but it's what I've got lying around. I've had this lying in the garage since we moved in. I've got no idea why I put it into storage before we moved in the house, but I've been precious with it. It's time to get it used. And what better project than actually sorting my life out and organising my garage. Now, any returning viewers will know that I am nothing but a true professional, so I'm going to do a dry fit. Now, because I'm a true professional, this will all go very smoothly and I will be left with a box I just really need to glue up. Oh wait.
I threw it the wrong side. Muppet. Be right back.
The tragic thing is, this isn't even the first time that that's happened. In fact, I think it's the third. So let's chalk that up as mistake number 1 of this project. Anyway, I'm fairly pleased with the outcome considering this is made out of 2 pallet boards and some old plywood. It looks fairly decent so far. So with the carcass cut to size and routed, I decided to make some little partition shelves, if you like. I don't want these sandpapers sitting flat at any point. I want them stood up so that I can see exactly how many I've got and also be able to see the grit on them as well. Now, I've got these offcuts of wood left over from doing the French cleat walling, so I'm going to use those. And I'm basically going to try something that I know I'm not very good at, and I'm going to join them in a certain way that requires me using a chisel. Because my cabinet is perfectly square on the interior, I have 2 lengths that are exactly the same size. All I'm doing here is I'm finding the middle and marking it with the right end of the pencil. I take another measurement and then mark the perfect centre of each length of wood. Now I've got the perfect centre, I'm going to lay the end of the piece of wood up towards that line, and then I'm going to mark out the area that I'm going to remove. I believe this is called a half lap. Is it a half lap if they're completely making an X shape? We'll go with half lap. It's a half lap. Or it's not. It might not be. With the cut area marked out, I take them over to the miter saw and I cut down just to that original centre line that I marked. Now I'm using my patented chisel technique where I just line up my chisel and hit it really, really, really hard. I even wobble the camera and didn't my work table. It is somewhat successful though, and these actually go together to make quite a snug fit. They just need a little bit of cleanup with the chisel without the hammer this time. So I get to work doing that and make sure that these fit absolutely perfectly. Next up is a small job and another professional moment for me. Missing something? Fool. Anyway, once I've put the battery on my drill, I'm going to drill a hole, a 6mm hole, on each of these lengths. They're the bits that kind of hang below the cabinet. I've found this metal rod, you can see it in the bottom of your screen there, and I'm going to wedge that into the holes, and that's going to go underneath the cabinet to hang things on. I've got some random clamps lying around that I really need to find a space for, and I figured this is as good as any. Now, as they say in the trade, there ain't nothing to it but to glue it. I'm really sorry, I'm not in the trade. I don't think they say that at all. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue everything up, use plenty of glue, like I said in my rules, and then I'm going to just brad nail it. I'm not going to go with screws or anything like this. This isn't going to hold anything heavy duty, so just glue and brad nails just to hold it all in place will be easier than setting up a load of clamps. As well as gluing the cabinet itself, I glue together those shelves or cross beams, or the half lap if it's a half lap, and then I'm just going to tack some of the leftover plywood onto the front of those. That's just going to stop the sandpaper falling off whilst still making it easier to see. Like I say, I'm just trying to use things that I've got lying around. I could have made this prettier if I'd have actually found some wood or bought some wood, but psh, I'm cheap. Thanks for all the concern and the safety tips on using a table saw from my last video. I have ordered a riving knife blade replacement. It's not here yet. I don't know when it's going to be here. It's apparently lost in the post, but I will get that on as soon as possible. Anyway, I'm just squaring up some boards here to make my door, and these are just left off the end of the boards that I cut down to make the cabinet itself. Just making a nice square edge on here so that I can glue them up. Not much to show you here other than whacking a load of glue on. Plenty of glue, lots of glue. Then I'm going to throw them in clamps, and then I'm going to leave them overnight because I am about done, and with the amount of glue being used, it's all going to dry. See you tomorrow. So the next day it is absolutely freezing in the garage, but I really want to get this project wrapped up, so I'll quickly run you through what I did. I profiled a hook to hang the sander on using the jigsaw, cleaned it up on the router table, which was a very quick process, gave it a cheeky little sand by hand, which was sad, then used a combination of super glue, or CA glue if you're across the pond, activator spray and wood glue to hold this in place, and then I screwed through the other side using my impact driver and some self-driving screws. Next up, it's time to make the door. Now here you can see I made the door too long, and I thought I'll cut it to size after I've glued it all up. That's the professional thing to do, you get perfectly straight edges. Now, what you don't realise from just watching this footage is I am already aware that I have made that door too narrow. It is not wide enough to actually fit the cabinet, and yet I am ploughing on with absolutely zero plan whatsoever. Do you want to know what the best part about all this is? I was making a square. How could I not get the right measurements for a square? Anyway, I do come up with a solution that works out quite well in the end and uses just scrap wood. Made from another mistake, would you believe it? Like I said, at this point I was fully aware of the mistake I made, but look, I'm cracking on anyway. I'm going to figure out a fix later on. In fact, at this point I was thinking to myself, will this gap be obvious enough for the YouTube viewers to see, or can I get away with it? This is why I like YouTube. It keeps you accountable because it was horrific and I would have just lived with the gap. Yes, you idiot, the viewers will notice that gap. It's not exactly narrow, is it? Idiot. Anyway, like I said, an old mistake is going to fix this new mistake. So this L-shaped piece of wood here, turns out, is the perfect size to fill that gap. And it's actually the offcut from that piece that I routed on the wrong side right near the start of the video. So again, I'm just using some glue, mixture of wood glue and CA glue and activator spray. And I cannot tell you how perfectly this fits in. I got away with it here. I don't usually. So now my door was done with its fitted handle, which was obviously done on purpose. It was time to pre-drill and then screw on the French cleat part of the project, and this is how the cabinet's going to hang onto the wall. Those of you who watch my previous videos will know that I've got French cleats all along the back wall, so that's how I'm going to hang it. So all I've done here is pre-drill so the screw sits flat, and then I'm going to screw through into the framework of the cabinet. And not that it's totally necessary, but I also put in some cleats a little bit lower down. Now these do stick out the edge, and I did mean to saw the ends off, but to be honest, once it was hanging on the wall I completely forgot about it, so I don't even know if I'm going to go back and do that or not, but probably not.
Boo! Got ya. Well, it doesn't look pretty. I wouldn't say she's a beautiful thing. Still need a magnet for the door. And I am just happy. Finally, I've got a place for my sandpapers, for my hand sand sheet paper things. I even threw in a little bar on the bottom for some of these clamps. I've got a place to keep my sander. Mate, my life is getting more and more organised. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Please like and subscribe. Bye.